Janie Ellis, 2013 Scottsdale History Hall of Fame honoree. If you are lucky enough to spend an hour with Janie Ellis, you'll learn more about Scottsdale, its creative people, and its cachet as a center for arts and creativity than you could ever imagine. She's not only lived it, she's helped choreograph some of the most fascinating events in our history. Her name is synonymous with her birthplace, Cattle Track. Janie's taken what her parents started in the 1930s and built Cattle Track into a cradle of creativity for which she is the muse. Janie was born into an eclectic Scottsdale family. Her father, George, was an engineer and contractor who built adobe and redwood homes in the McDonald Drive area north of town. He and his wife, Rachel, created an enclave now known as Cattle Track along the Arizona Canal. Janie's mother, Rachel, had been a teacher at Scottsdale Grammar and High Schools in the 1930s and was a talented seamstress and fabric artist. Janie's maternal grandfather was U.S. Congressman John Murdoch, who served in Washington for 16 years. Janie and her brothers David and Mike grew up in a Scottsdale where everyone knew everyone, and kids enjoyed countless hours of outdoor adventures. After classes at Scottsdale Grammar, Winfield Scott, and Scottsdale High Schools, Janie would ride her horse Lightning, raft or water ski on the canal, collect scorpions in a jar, or help her parents in their creative enterprises. There were always visitors. One day, the Maytag kids might come over to play. The next day, Frank Lloyd Wright might stop by to talk shop with her father. She often watched rodeo star Dick Griffith practice jumping his horses over cars at his nearby ranch. Rachel, concerned that Janie had poor posture as a child, enrolled her in ballet classes. Janie studied at Ruth Sussman's studio on Bishop Lane in Scottsdale and practiced on an outdoor wooden platform that her father George built next to the canal. She performed in Scottsdale High School musicals and appeared as a dance hall girl in episodes of 26 Men that were filmed at Cudia City. After finishing high school in 3 years so that she could pursue a dance career, she briefly attended Texas Christian University. In the early 1960s, Janie was personally granted a Ford Foundation scholarship by the famous George Balanchine of the New York City Ballet. She had first performed with his company in the Nutcracker Ballet in Los Angeles when she was 11 years old. Janie returned to Scottsdale in the early 1970s and began choreographing numerous musicals throughout the valley and country. She and her mom often worked together, Rachel designing and sewing elaborate costumes, and Janie choreographing the dance numbers in performances like Music Man, The Fantastics, and West Side Story. Janie worked with Man of La Mancha playwright Dale Wasserman, as well as high school and community theater groups to stage their varied productions. She choreographed the stylized square dance that local high school students performed at the dedication of Louise Nevelson's Window to the West public art sculpture in 1973. She also choreographed the fun-loving Scottsdale Arts Center Association's Follies in the 1970s and 80s. Janie always worked in the numerous businesses that her father, mother, and brothers ran from Cattle Track. She helped with the crops they grew at Paradise Farms, where the Hilton Resort now stands, and at Desert Paradise Farms at Bell and Scottsdale Roads in the 1950s. She kept the books and performed other functions for Ellis Family Enterprises that ranged from building fiberglass boats, Indy racing cars, and mobile veterinary units to expanding the studio spaces at Cattle Track. She worked with her mother to manage the Costume Institute they created, providing period clothing for innumerable stage performances. Taking a page from her parents, Janie has always been inventing and experimenting, and is an expert recycler of any and all reusable objects. Combining all of these talents and experiences, one of her proudest achievements was serving as project manager for moving Justice Sandra Day O'Connor's Adobe home from Paradise Valley to its new site in Papago Park. She is currently working to restore the historic Eisendrath House, also in Papago Park. Janie has also been able to move several historic adobes to Cattle Track and convert them into working studios and galleries for artists, architects, printers, potters, and other creative spirits. Janie always finds ways to give back to the Scottsdale she loves and shuns the spotlight. She served on the Fine Arts Commission, Scottsdale Center for the Arts Board, Scottsdale Visioning, Scottsdale Historic Preservation Commission, and the Phil Curtis Trust. Janie has hosted hundreds of events and meetings for local nonprofits at Cattle Track. She gives tours and talks at Cattle Track to groups who want to learn more about Scottsdale's art and cultural history that took place there. The Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art honored Janie with the Contemporary Catalyst Award in 2006, and the Women of Scottsdale named her Woman of the Year for 2011. Janie is a master at blending history and preservation with innovation and technology. She successfully obtained national and local historic register status for Cattle Track, a place that surprises first-time visitors with its sprawling desert oasis setting in the heart of contemporary Scottsdale. In 2012, she published a book, Cattle Track Couture Fashion by Rachel Ellis, and staged an exhibit of her mother's costumes, clothing, and fabric art pieces. She works with the various artisans who create at Cattle Track to help them use age-old techniques and equipment in new and high-tech ways. Gallery shows at Cattle Track might exhibit photos of the Old West printed with the latest in large-scale digital printing, or resident architects might design ultra-contemporary buildings from their studios of recycled adobe, redwood, and other found materials. Just as adventurous today as she was as a child, Janie loves to travel around Arizona and the world and prefers outdoor treks most of all. She also loves music and sharing good times with her wide circle of friends. Janie will tell you that there is always something fun happening at Cattle Track and that a special magic happens there. She says the magic is conjured from a combination of the people and the place. Those who know Janie and love her Cattle Track enclave will agree that she's the magic. How lucky Scottsdale is to have this high-energy, highly creative choreographer to keep its arts, cultural, and innovative spirit alive.